The Trump administration has added more countries to the travel ban list, and we're going to talk about which countries were added, what this new travel ban means for those countries, and what you can expect moving forward with your case if you're from one of these countries. I am U.S. immigration attorney Lilian Chukwurah, and I help my clients get green cards and citizenships for themselves and their families using the U.S. immigration law system. As you may already know, in June of 2025, the Trump administration issued a proclamation basically listing certain countries for a travel ban. Some countries had a full travel ban, while other countries had a partial travel ban. So when you are in the full travel ban, that means no immigrant visas, no non-immigrant visas. If you're on the partial travel ban list, you are not getting any non-immigrant visas, but you can still get immigrant visas, meaning if a family member files for you and you're able to get your green card through that petition, that application will still be processed for those partial travel ban countries. However, for the full travel ban countries, does not matter. In June, they did have an exception for immediate relatives of U.S. citizens, meaning spouses, children under 21 that are unmarried, and parents of U.S. citizens. They had a carve out for that category, while everyone else on that full travel ban list could not get an immigrant visa or a non-immigrant visa. When the initial proclamation was made, the following countries were on the full travel ban list: Afghanistan, Burma, Chad, Republic of the Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen. Those were the countries on the full travel ban list. With the new ban, we are having additional countries added to the full travel ban. So these are the countries that have been added to the full travel ban, meaning a full suspension on entry, meaning they're not going to be issued new visas to the U.S. So you are not getting an immigrant visa to the U.S. You are not getting a non-immigrant visa to the U.S. if you are on this list, okay? So the new countries on the full travel ban list are Burkina Faso, Laos, Mali, Niger, Sierra Leone, South Sudan, Syria, and individuals from Palestine and have travel documents issued by the Palestinian authorities. Okay, those are the people on the full travel ban, added to the full travel ban list. Next, let's talk about the partial travel ban. So the partial travel ban really is all about non-immigrant visas. It is not restricting immigrant visas. So that is really a key point here, is that the difference between a full travel ban and a partial travel ban is that a full travel ban affects immigrant visas and non-immigrant visas, while a partial travel ban only affects non-immigrant visas. So that is the key difference between the two. So with the new travel ban that was just announced, the following countries are still on a partial travel ban, and they were on the list in June. And those are Burundi, Cuba, Togo, and Venezuela. Now, they have added a lot of countries. The following countries are still on the travel ban list for the partial ban from June. So those are Burundi, Cuba, Togo, and Venezuela. They are still on that list. Turkmenistan was actually taken off the partial travel ban list. So that's good news for people from Turkmenistan. Now, however, they added 15 more countries to the travel ban list. Yes, you heard me. 15 more countries to the partial travel ban list. The new countries on the partial travel ban list, again, there's 15 of them, are Angola, Antigua and Barbuda, Benin, Cote d'Ivoire, Dominica, Gabon, the Gambia, Malawi, Mauritania, Nigeria, Senegal, Tanzania, Tonga, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. Like I said, this list is for partial travel ban. Okay, so to my Nigerians out there that have their immigrant visas and they're wondering, do I need to travel ASAP to avoid issues? Well, this does not affect immigrant visas. This partial travel ban only affects non-immigrant visas. So if you have your immigrant visa ready to go or you're scheduled for an immigrant visa interview, just know that interview is still going to go forward. You may be issued a visa if you qualify for it, and you can travel to the US with that immigrant visa. Now, if you are trying to apply for a B1, B2 visa, an F visa, I am so sorry, this affects you. Okay, so if you're trying to come to the US for visit or for student, and you already have one of these visas, you may want to travel before January 1st into the US. Now that we know the countries that are affected by the full travel ban and the partial travel ban, let's talk about the scope, right? What does this actually apply to? Who does this actually apply to within those country limits? Okay, this only applies to people outside of the US as of January 1st, 2026. And do not already have a valid visa as of that date. So if you do not already have a visa and you are physically outside of the US as of January 1st, 2026, I am sorry, you would not be able to come to the US if you are on either the partial travel ban or the full ban. Again, full ban includes immigrant visas, while the partial ban only includes non-immigrant visas, okay? This does not apply to lawful permanent residents of the United States, any dual national of a listed country, when that individual is traveling on a passport issued by a country not subject to the travel ban. What does that mean in reality? Let's say you have a dual nationality, you are Nigerian and also have UK citizenship. What this means is that if you are applying for your visa based on your Nigerian passport, you are not going to get that visiting visa to the US. However, if you apply based on your UK passport, you are more likely to get that visiting visa to the US. See there, when you have a dual nationality, just make sure that you're using the passport for the country that is not on the travel ban list. Any foreign national traveling on an ACG, NATO visas, just know those are typically diplomats. So if you're traveling in one of those, you're probably going to be just fine. And then because we have the World Cup, the Olympics, and other major sporting events coming up that are supposed to be held in the US, there's also a carve out for athletes, coaches, and those in supporting roles and immediate relatives of those athletes, coaches, and those in supporting roles that are coming specifically for the World Cup, the Olympics, or any other major sporting event. All right. There is also a carve out for special immigrant visas for US government employees, immigrant visas for ethnic and religious minorities facing persecution in Iran. And then finally, individuals granted asylum and refugees previously admitted into the US. So those are the carve-outs, the exceptions to this full and partial travel ban, okay? Those are the carve-outs. You may notice as I was reading that list, I did not say immediate relatives of US citizens, right? You notice that? Cool. Because in the June travel ban, they had a carve out especially for immediate relatives of US citizens because they're usually priority, right? You want US citizens to be able to file for their family and bring their children, minor children, their parents, their spouse to the US to live with them. But with this new travel ban, they took out that carve out. So if you are on the full travel ban list and you are a US citizen but your spouse is from one of the countries on the full travel ban list, you would not be able to get an immigrant visa for your spouse or a non-immigrant visa, okay? So none of that would be possible, even for immediate relatives of US citizens. If you are filing for a child that you adopted and that adoption took place in one of the full travel ban list countries, you would not be able to file for that child. And then special immigrant visas for Afghanistan would also not be honored. So those are the exceptions that no longer apply. They did apply on the June proclamation, but on the December proclamation, they took out those three. So immediate relatives of US citizens, adopted children, and Afghan special immigrant visa would not be an exception to the full travel ban list. There is an additional exception here for national interest as determined by the Secretary of State or the Secretary of Homeland Security. Again, what that means in reality, we do not know, but if it's of the national interest and you can show that having that person in the US is of national interest, you may be able to get that exception through the embassy. It's important to note that this travel ban really affects people outside of the US. If you are physically in the US and you were recently added to the full travel ban list and you have an interview with USCIS next week, they would still be able to process your application and approve it if you qualify for it. But looking forward though, what does this mean for you if you were just added to these travel ban lists and you are in the US and wondering how does this potentially affect my petition? Well, let's talk about it. We know that on December 2nd, USCIS changed their policy to basically say that any countries that were on those 19 high-risk countries on the June 4th proclamation would no longer have their applications with USCIS processed. So they would not make a decision on those applications, whether you're applying for I-485 green card application, whether you're filing for a change of status. They would not make a decision on those cases. All right. Now, moving forward, what I expect is that USCIS will most likely update that policy to include these new countries that were added to the travel ban list. So that if you are in the US and you're applying for, let's say, adjustment of status, and you're from one of those travel ban countries, especially the new ones, you may expect in the future for USCIS to update their policy to now add those countries in it. So if you are from one of the countries that were just added and you have an interview coming up, please make sure you don't miss your interview and that you make sure that you have all your documentation ready to go for that process, so that once you're done with your interview, the officer can actually approve you right away. So basically you want to do this before they make any changes to the USCIS policy as far as the 19 travel ban countries. You don't want your newly added travel ban country to be added to the USCIS list, and then you miss your interview and not be able to basically know when you could potentially get your green card. So we will update you once we have more information. If there's any changes to how USCIS will be treating these newly added countries, I will update you with that. But I am so sorry to start your Christmas week with this right, with a travel ban, but that is the nature of US immigration these days, is that there's always something. But my job is to inform you of all the changes so that you are aware and you can move through life knowing what is going on and how it could potentially affect your case. If you found this video helpful, please go ahead and hit the like button. Share this video with anyone that you think would get a benefit out of it, especially if they are from one of these countries. And if you are going through your own immigration journey and you would like assistance with that journey or have questions about what to expect, please feel free to schedule a strategy session with me. You can do that by going to my website, lilylegal.com, click on contact us, and you would be able to schedule a date and time that works best for you for us to chat about your case.